Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Engineering with Shamil. And today, in episode number 15, we are going to talk about the main components of a fire alarm system. So, until now, we have spoken about fire alarm system as a whole. We have covered about the types of fire alarm system, which are conventional and the adjustable system. And today, we are going to talk about what all are the components that are involved in a fire alarm system. So, the first component that is there in the fire alarm system is the fire alarm control panel. Now, what is the fire alarm control panel? The fire alarm control panel is considered to be the brain of the system. Now, what does the brain of the system do? So, the brain in a human body, the brain is the one which actually serves as a central processing unit. That's where all the decisions are being taken place, and accordingly, we perform all the actions. Similarly, in the fire alarm system, the FACP, that is the fire alarm control panel, will be acting as a brain of the fire alarm control system. So this is where all the functions are being processed, interpreted, and then the necessary actions will take place. So let us see what all are the functions that a fire alarm control panel will be performing. So the first function is monitoring. That is, whichever devices are connected to the fire alarm control panel, the panel will be monitoring their status. Okay, so that is number one function, monitoring. The second one is processing. The fire alarm control panel will be receiving and then interpreting the signals from the devices. Okay, so each device will be constantly communicating with the fire alarm control panel. The fire alarm control panel will be receiving these signals and then they'll be interpreting the status of these signals. The third function is activation. So once the signals are being interpreted, that is, in case if the one of the signals turn out to be an alarm, then the fire alarm signal, what fire alarm control panel, what it does is it will send a command to a notification device saying that to activate the sounders and strobes. Notification devices here means sounders and strobes. The fourth function is displays. That is, in case if the system is in alarm condition, if the system is in fault condition, or if the system is in normal condition, whichever the condition may be, the fire alarm control panel will display that particular information. Okay, and the last one is related to the backup. Now, what does backup mean? In fire alarm control panel, the panel will be operating in the normal 230 volt AC power supply. Now, in case if there is a power failure, the panel will be operating in batteries. So this is what backup means over here. Backup is in terms of power. Now, regarding the size of the batteries, just for your information, the size of the batteries as per the NFPA. So the normal standard clause of the NFPA is that the batteries are sized for 24 hours under normal conditions, and it should be sized for operating under 30 minutes in alarm conditions. So this is how the batteries are being sized. Now, the next thing is, regarding now whatever the signals are there, that will be reported to the FACP. Okay, so this is what FACP is all about. Correct. So whatever signals are there, so whatever devices are there, that will be reporting back to the FACP. Okay, so this is what fire alarm control panel is all about. The next device is the detector. So we have several types of detectors. So detectors are basically like a sensing device. So either it can sense, the detectors, they are like sensing device. Okay, so let's see what all are the different types of detectors. So first detector is the smoke optical detector. So the optical detector is based on the phenomenon of photoelectric effect. So inside the detector there's a chamber, and the chamber there's a light source. So based on the scattering principle, based on light scattering principle, the optical smoke detector will be working. Okay, so here, the optical smoke detector is suitable for slow smoldering fires. That is, the fires which have started, but it takes time to develop into a full-fledged fire. So, for such conditions, the photoelectric smoke detectors will be suitable. The second type of detectors is the ionization smoke detectors. Ionization smoke detectors involves a radioactive material. Instead of the light source, it involves a radioactive material. So it will detect the small smoke particles, and this is suitable for fast, rapidly forming fires. The third type is the heat detectors. So the heat detectors, the first type of heat detector is the fixed temperature heat detector. So heat detector is used for detecting heat. So in that there are two types. One is a fixed temperature. So the fixed temperature is where there is a set predetermined temperature. That is when the heat detector, when the heat reaches that particular temperature, then the heat detector will get activated. Okay. So this is used in kitchens and garages where there is lots of smoke being developed, and in order to avoid false alarm, that's why we are installing heat, so that it will sense the heat aspect of the fire. The second type of heat detector is the rate of rise. Now, the difference between rate of rise and the fixed temperature is, as I said before, the fixed temperature determines the fixed temperature heat detectors activates when the temperature reaches a predetermined temperature. But the rate of rise temperature is about how fast the temperature rises. Okay, that's where that's where the heat rate of rise heat detectors work. So this is also installed in kitchens and garages. The last one is multi-sensor. So multi-sensor is when you're combining both the smoke and the heat detector. So you are having fewer false alarms. Okay. So in there are some locations, like say for example, in substations. Okay. In substations, there's a possibility for both smoke and heat detector to happen. Smoke and heat to occur. So in order to avoid the false alarms, what we do is we actually install multi-sensor smoke detector in such areas. So these are the types of smoke detectors. I will just go through them quickly. So we have the photoelectric smoke detector, or otherwise we also call them as optical smoke detectors. Then we have the ionization smoke detectors. We have the fixed temperature heat detectors, then rate of rise heat detectors, and the multi-sensor. So to simply put them, we have three types. So the first thing is smoke detector. Smoke detector detects the smoke. Heat detector detects the heat, and multi-sensor, they will detect both smoke and heat. So this is all about detectors. The third one is the manual call point. Now, what is manual call point? So if you go through any building along the corridors, along the exit signs, near to the exit doors, you will find a red color box. So that red color box with a white plate with a black color circle in it. So that red color box is actually your manual call point. Okay. So whenever you see a fire manually, whenever you visually see a fire, or whenever you notice any incident that leads to fire, you go over there, you physically go over there, and then you break the glass over there. Okay, you break the glass or you press the button. So this is what the manual call point is all about. Okay, it allows any human being, regardless of the status, be it a common man or be it a fire responder, to trigger the fire alarm. Okay, and these devices are located along the escape routes. That is, every exit and every floor will have a manual call point. Okay, so manual call point is actually a human activated alarm. Okay, and it's also, the technically speaking, it is part of the manual initiating devices. So detectors are classified in under automatic initiating devices. Manual call point is classified under manual initiating devices. So whenever you see fire, you break the glass. That's the motto of the manual call point. Okay. The next category of device is the notification devices. So whenever there is an alarm, I said before that the fire alarm control panel will send a signal to the notification devices to start making an alarm noise. Okay, so what are the notification devices? So notification devices, they are either the strobes, sounders, or the combination of both these devices. Okay, so when it comes to the strobes, so the strobes, the purpose is to provide an audible alarm. Okay, it could be either bells, it could be horns, or it could be buzzers. And these sounders, they will be alerting, or they'll be alerting everyone. It will wake people up. Now, what are the strobes? The strobes are actually the strobes are actually designed for people who are having hearing impairment. They will be having difficulty to hear. So for such people, they will be providing strobe lights. Then we have the combination of both, that is the strobes and the sounders. So for this, when they are using the combination, it is serving all the occupants in the building. Okay. So this is what this notification device is all about. So we have sounders, we have strobes, and we have the combination of both of them. So the strobes, the notification devices, okay, when I'm talking in collective aspect altogether, so the notification devices are either installed in walls or in ceilings. So the notification devices, they will be required in corridors, in public spaces, and in common areas. Okay, so this is what notification devices is all about. Then we have modules. So the fire alarm system, whenever we are installing, we are not installing only the fire alarm system. We are not installing fire alarm system as a standalone system. Rather, we are interfacing, or we are connecting the fire alarm system to other systems which are there, which are installed in the building. So let us see how that installation is possible. Now, how that connection is possible. This connection is possible only with the use of a device called module. So the module is the one which serves as a link between the fire alarm system and the other associated devices, or let's say third-party devices. So the modules are of two types. So the first type is the input module, and the second type is the output module. So the input module is the one which monitors the status of the third party system, that is the non-addressable devices. So for example, okay, sprinkler system is one system that fire alarm system has to activate, it has to be interfaced. So in order to in case if there's a flow of water along the pipes, then there is a flow switch which will detect the flow of the water movement, okay, which will detect the water flow. So the flow switch is a non-addressable device. So in order to detect, in order to know, in order for the fire alarm system to know whether there is a water flow, there will be a module which will be connected with the flow switch. Okay, when there is a module connected to the flow switch, what happens is the module will come to know that there is a flow switch being activated, and the same information will be passed to the fire alarm control panel, and then the alarm will be sounded. Okay, this is how an input module will work. Similarly, it's not only for the sprinkler systems, it could be also for the tamper switches, it could be also for the FM200 systems, aerosol systems, and all. So for these systems, we have an input module, or we can call them as monitoring modules. Okay, it will monitor the status of these systems and then accordingly inform to the fire alarm control panel. The next category is, the second category of modules is the output module. So the purpose of output module is to control the external equipment. That is, whenever there is an alarm, okay, whenever there is an alarm, it will, these output modules, when they are installed, they'll be installed near to the HVAC system. So when there's an alarm, the fire alarm system will send a signal to the output module to shut down the HVAC system. Now, the shutting down part is actually as per the code regulations. Okay. The second, if there's a damper over there, okay, it will send a signal to the so it will send a signal to the output module saying that the dampers need to be closed. If there's an access control system over there, we will install a module over there, output module, and the fire alarm control panel will send a signal to the output module saying that the doors need to be unlocked. Okay. Similarly, for the elevators, in case if there's a module near to the elevators control panel, then the fire alarm system will send a signal to the output module saying that the alarm has sounded, and the elevators which was there, which was there in the other floors, they need to come back to the ground floors. So this is the function of an output module. So input module is called as, the other name for input module is the monitor module, and the other name for output module is the control module. So these modules, they will allow the integration between the fire alarm system and the other building systems. So this is what modules are all about. So a quick summary. So if you notice, all these devices, they are somehow related to the human body. Okay. So the FACP is considered to the brain of the system because that's where all the controlling takes place. The detectors are like the sensors, like it's like the nose and the mouth, nose and the eyes of the system. It will sense what happens. Okay. And then accordingly, the decision will be taken. Then we have the manual call point. So the manual call point is like a mouth. It's like as if a human is saying there's a fire, and then it runs to the manual call point and activates. Then we have the alarm devices. It's like again similar to the mouth. It says, it shouts that there's a fire in the building. Then we have the modules. Modules are like the hands. So this is where, or in case if there's any alarm happening, the hands will be taking action. So this is how you compare a human body with the fire alarm devices. So that's a part of an analogy to make your understanding simpler. Okay. So to summarize, all the components which is there, the fire alarm control panel, or fire alarm system, let's say fire alarm system, whatever components are there, they are used to detect, warn, and respond. So the FACP is like the brain of the system. The detectors and the MCP, they are sensors. So sensors, again, there are two types. One is the automatic sensors and the other one is the manual sensors. Manual sensors, you have the MCP. The detectors, they belong to the automatic sensor. Then we have the alarm devices. So the alarm devices are like the providing the warning to the occupants of the building. And then we have the modules. So the modules is for integration of the fire alarm system with the other systems. Okay. So the entire result is that all these components along with the fire alarm control panel will be part of the complete life safety system. So with this, I conclude my today's episode. I hope I hope that this video has clarity in terms of knowledge, and I hope it is easier for you viewers to understand all the concepts. In case of you have any queries, feedback, or comments regarding my video, kindly post them in the chat box so that I will respond to each and every one of them. Thank you for listening. And before I sign off, I would humbly request all of you to kindly like, share, and subscribe in order to produce more videos like this. Thank you once again. And I sign off, wishing all of you a good day. Thank you.